All right, Edison community, I'm back from Ycs Indianapolis. I competed in the Ultimate Time Wizard Tournament. I got second place out of 197 players. So this is just going to be a tournament report. I do this after all the big Edison events that I enter in. So we'll just go over going to go over each round and how things turned out. So overall, the event was actually, this is my third Time Wizard tournament. I played at Indy the last year, which I ended up winning. And I played in Vegas, and they've gotten better and better. Indy was kind of bad, the start time and everything, but this time it was smooth. So at least Konami's getting better with these events. The only complaint I will have, and I'm sure some people will agree with me, they didn't have a timer for us, which was bad. Because, like, I remember round one, I actually drew round one. I'll go over it when we get there, because I couldn't see the time. Maybe I would have played a little bit faster or forced my opponent to play faster had I known where the time was. So that's the only gripe. And two things. So I'm going to go over why I chose to attend this event. The reason I chose to go to Indy was because I won the previous year and I wanted to go defend my title, which it kind of worked out. I got all the way to the finals and I defended it as best I could, but Frazier got me, so congrats to him. Great player and tough matchup for me. So, but we'll get there eventually. And next I'll go over why I chose Vayu Turbo. So some of you guys watch the channel see me play Diva Hero Beat for a while, but I just don't think that deck's consistent enough for me to do well in the tournament. So it came down to two decks, Frogs or Vayu Turbo, and I've played Frogs a lot, and I just felt I wanted to give Vayu Turbo a chance, especially the build I have, which I'll upload the deck profile in a few hours so you guys can see that. But yeah, it was between Frogs and Vayu, and I just decided to go with Vayu. I felt it's a slightly more consistent than Frogs, but I feel Frogs is more powerful. But so this time I chose to go with the consistency over the power. And okay, one last thing before I get to the rounds, what happened. So how do I feel about getting second place? I've gotten first in three other major tournaments, which was YCS Austin 2013. I got first. ARG Phoenix, for those of you guys who remember the ARG Circuit Series, I got first place in 2016. And then the Ultimate Time was last year. So it's a different feeling. I've never gotten second in a big event, and it hurt, man. It was painful, but at the same time, it's motivating because kind of like, oh, man, I was this close. So, yeah, it's a different experience. And especially because Frazier, when he won, I had never seen it. Like, he went crazy when he won, and I was happy for him. But at the same time, it kind of did sting a little bit. If you guys check his Facebook, he's got the video of him just going crazy when he won. But, yeah, it's definitely motivating, but painful at the same time. All right, let's go to round one. So I played Hero Frogs. I lost a die roll. So game one, it was just bad. Like, he drew pretty well, and my hand was okay. But he had, like, everything. Like, he beat me pretty fast. Like, heavy. I don't remember this guy's name. He's just like heavy me, double miracle. It was over. And then game two took forever. We just had a really long game two. Actually, I remember I not trapped the shit. I deck devved him, so I knew all his cards. And then basically he only had like two cards left in his hand, and I set return. I'm like, I'm just gonna beat him next turn with return, which was the game plan. And I knew all his cards because he was under deck dev. And then he goes draw, summon breaker, breaks my return, and then basically that was like the only really power card I had. So then then we just started fighting back and forth. And what's funny is I think if he would have been a little bit more aggressive, maybe he could have won that game, because we got down to where like I was at 400 and he was 700, and eventually I like top decked a Gale to finish him off. And I was down on life the entire time. Had time been called like a few seconds earlier, he probably would have won. But anyway, and then game three, basically we start and I go first. Yeah, no, he went first. Like, does the swap frog play, and then I go. What did I do? I go like summon Greffer, send Necrogarna, set Royal Oppression, and I think I dust shoot him. Yeah, I dust shoot him in Oppression, so I know his hand. Like, I'm gonna win the game. If we weren't in time, I would have 100% won that third game because he had like two dead miracles, and yeah, it was just at the end we were both at 8,000. Time was called and we drew. So it's like I felt after the draw, I was like, okay, this is better than a loss, but it's not the best. It was like a blessing and a curse because at the same time, I'm going to play people most of the time I'll play people who are X1. So it could have been a blessing in disguise. So that was round one. Round two, I played against Vayu Turbo. I don't remember this match well. I just remember that game one, I'm main decking 2 Oppression. You guys will see that in my deck profile. And he dropped Dad game one and I oppressed him. And I kind of don't remember this matchup. The only thing I remember is that he told me game 3, I had a Greffer up, and he had a choice. He could have done the aggressive play and like forced. He could have traded with. I think it was he could have traded with Greffers, like on Greffer, sent Vayu Sirocco, and then I had a Necro Gardener, I think, and then forced a Necro and then crashed with the Greffer. But instead, he chose not to be aggressive, and I think it cost him that game. But I did lose that die roll as well, so that's all I really remember from that matchup. Yeah, I don't remember. That's all I remember from that matchup. So that was round 2, 2-1. It was 2-1. I think he got me the second game, but I don't remember how. Okay. So round 3, I lose a die roll again. I'm playing against a winged Rhinos deck. What's funny is I actually played against that deck. My friend John played it at local, so at least I had one matchup under my belt against that deck. So, but overall, I was just like, the only thing I remember was that he caught me off guard with oppression game 1. I think he oppressed something. I forgot what it was. Yeah, but he kind of hurt me with oppression, but it didn't matter. I think I heavied him and heavy storm, and it was a pretty quick 2-0. But yeah, but he was actually undefeated at the time. He was 1-0-1. We had the same record. So that was round 3. And let's go to round 4. Diva Hero beat. I lost the die roll again. What do I remember from this matchup? See, the thing about Diva Hero beat is it's beautiful. This is why I talk about this in previous videos. I've played that deck a lot, so I know the strengths and weaknesses of that deck. But we did go to game 3. But I remember game 3, like a lot of people were watching, and I just like had a brain fart. Like I don't know what happened, but like he had like Shadow Mirror up, and I flipped return, and I brought out a Sirocco, and he like bottomlessed me, and I had a Stardust up. And I could have like maybe done a different play, but I just had like I was just thinking, oh, I don't want to negate the bottomless with Stardust, and then he changed Torrential. That was like I was like stuck, like it was like a brain fart. But I should have just negated I should have just negated the bottomless, and then like I could have had a lot of other plays. I made it much harder for me than it should have been, but I ended up winning anyway. But it happens, you know. That's a lot of, you know, when you go to these big tournaments, you just got to survive the Swiss rounds, because occasionally you're going to have a brain fart, especially if you get tired. And yeah, but I still managed to win that game. So that was round 4. So right now I'm 3-0-1. Round 5, I finally won the die roll. First die roll win against Chainburn. And I'm not going to say much about this matchup. It's Chainburn. And one thing, if you don't know how to play against Chainburn, it's tough. Like I probably could have won that match, but I don't know how to play against Chainburn. I talked to the guy who won YCS Raleigh, the Ultimate Time version in Raleigh, Eric, or Sizzle, I think that's what people call him. That's his DB name. He told me kind of how to play against that deck. So yeah, if you can get a little bit of practice in it, you're supposed to kind of like deplete your hand against them, like brio yourself. And I actually did that with Greffer, but I never thought about just going and just brioing my whole hand. But yeah, I kind of need to practice against that, because there's always going to be one random Chainburn at big events, and they're going to do well, but then they're going to eventually lose to someone who knows how to play against it. And yeah, so if you can practice against that deck at least a little bit, I recommend it. But that was my first loss, so now that was round 5. So I'm 3-1-1. I can't lose anymore, or I'm basically out. I have to win the next 3 in order to make top 8. So round 6, against Chamber, I did win one game. How did I beat him? I think I beat him with Dark Arm, game 2. Yeah, I just dropped the Dark Arm. He had a bunch of like the traps that like Magic Cylinders and Dimensional Wall, and Dark Arm just went in. Okay, round 6. I lost a dice roll against Diva Zombies, and I don't really remember this match. The only thing that I remember the highlight from this match was that he actually brought out the Zombie Dragon, the Red Eyes Zombie Dragon with Pyramid Turtle. I was shocked. But outside of that, he played well. His deck was pretty good, though. Outside of that was the only thing that was like shocking, but I think maybe I deck dev'd him. I don't really remember. It was just a quick match. But anyway, that was round 6. It was a 2-0, and I lost the die roll. So round 7, I lose the die roll again. So I've only won one die roll, and I'm playing against Amaryllis Burn, which is a tough matchup for Vayu. Even my friend Lowe, shout out to him. He's been struggling against that deck lately. And I do remember a little bit of this match, because honestly, this was one of my toughest matchup. The Hero Frog Mirror was only the second game was tough, but like as far as the whole match goes, this was one of my toughest matches of the weekend. Whereas Amaryllis, so game 1, I'm gonna go over something that happened. I hate having to shark my opponents, but I did do it. I mean, when you go to a big event, people are gonna shark you, and I hate doing it. But we were both fighting for our lives. He was X1, I think, and I was X01, and he had a Miracle Furt and a Call the Haunted Face down. I had a Royal Oppression. I press his Miracle Fur. He throws it to the grave, but then he tries to take it back and place it on his field and chain call. But I'm like, if he does that, he's gonna bring back his Titanium, and I'm basically gonna lose game one. And I sharked him. I was like, nah, man, you threw it in the graveyard already. And I hate doing it, but people have sharked me plenty of times. So yeah, at big events, if I was in his shoes, I wouldn't get mad. I'd just be like, you know what, it's my fault. Whatever, just keep going. And it's just Yu-Gi-Oh. But luckily, he still ended up winning that game. But I think because eventually he top decked heavy to out my oppression, so it didn't matter. But I would have definitely lost much earlier if I didn't shark him there. So he wins game one, and game two, I think it was just a quick game. But the third game was really, really important. So, like, he opens, like, Titanium and, like, one back row, and, like, he has, like, a Miracle Fur. So my hand's not that great. So I go normal summon Sirocco. Foolish Plague, which is a card that people don't play in Bayou Turbo. People were making fun of me for running Foolish. So I go Foolish, Plague, top for Plague. I even asked him, anything? It's not like I right away Synchro for Black Rose. I'm like, is it good? He's like, yes. Synchro for Black Rose. He had a Wing Blast. He 100% could have stopped me from making that Black Rose, and I probably would have lost that game, but he didn't. He told me after the match that he had a brain fart. Like I said, it happens at these big events. People, you just get worn out after a long day, and no food, especially because not like we get a lunch break or anything. So he thought that I was going to make a level 8. He didn't see a Black Rose coming, and then he's kind of like, oh, he just threw him to the grave. But he still fought back, and we still had a long matchup. But I remember it came down to, like, I had a Fossil Dyna in my hand, and he had one back row, and I could have normal summoned it, but I was afraid of Torrential or Mirror Force, so I chose not to. But then eventually, he kind of fought back, but I still had the Dyna, but I think his back row was like just dead, so it was just a risky situation. Do I want to walk into Torrential or Mirror Force with his Dyna? Had I done it, I probably would have won much earlier, but instead, I kept it in my hand. He fought back, but then I still had the Dyna, so I was able to set the Dyna, and he had like Titanium and like 2 tokens and Amaryllis. He attacks, and then I blow it up, and then blow up his, like, you know, Titanium, 2 tokens, and Amaryllis, and then I ended up winning. So yeah, that was a tough match. And, like, I think he would have won had he not had the brain fart there. And he would have knocked me out of the tournament for sure. And that's a good deck. And I think had he gone into top 8, he would have given a lot of those decks in Top Cut problems. Because Amaryllis has a lot of good matchups. And I'll go over what decks made top 8 here in a second. All right. Now we're on the bubble. I finally won the die roll against a Machina Cat deck. So I think his deck profile is up on YouTube. I think his YouTube channel's name is Who Needs Meta. I think I was actually watching his deck profile. He and I played on the bubble. He played Machina Cat, and it was a pretty quick 2-0. It was just his deck. He even mentions it in his deck profile. He actually started off 6-0 and then lost the last 2, and he just bricked against me. He didn't really draw much. And I remember it came down to, like, I knew his hand was bad. And this is the thing about playing in real life versus playing on DB. His body language and the things he said, he made it obvious that his hand was bad, and that's why I saw him the Avarice. Which on DB, maybe I wouldn't have been able to pick up on that. So that just goes to show you the difference. And he'll probably admit it as well. He would just draw, and he's like, oh, my hand sucks. And then goes Avarice. I'm like, oh, your hand's dead. Solemn. I think that was game 2, and then I ended up winning. And yeah, so that was the last round of Swiss. So I went 6-1-1. I got 7th. And what else? Yeah, 7th. And I will go over the top 8. So first after Swiss was Hero Frogs. Second after Swiss was Black Wings. Third after Swiss was, who was third? GBs. Fourth was Diva Hero Beat. Fifth was Hero Frogs, which was Fraser Smith, and who ended up winning the whole thing. Sixth after Swiss was, who was sixth? Machina Turbo. And 7th, I was 7th. I was the only Bayou Turbo who made top 8, which is surprising. And then 8th was Hero Frogs, he was the only X2 that made it. So the 1 and 2 were X01. They both had draws. No one went undefeated. And then there was 2 X1s, which was the GBs and Diva Hero Beat. And then there was 3 guys with X11 records, which was me, Fraser, and Machina Turbo, Steven. And then 1 X2, the 8th seed. So before the top 8, obviously I went, and I don't like playing the day before, but I looked at the bracket, and obviously my goal was to win because I really wanted that giant Judgment Dragon to hang it up next to this cat right here. And I looked at the bracket. I knew I'm going to play against Black Wings, and I heard from my locals that he's the GOAT player of the year. He's a really great GOAT player. So I knew he was good, so it was going to be tough. But I wasn't afraid of the deck. Like Black Wings versus Bayou, Depending on who you ask, some people say Value slightly favored. Some people say Black Wings is slightly favored. Some people say it's like 50-50. In my opinion, I think I give the slight edge to Value from watching them play and me playing that matchup myself. So I would give the slight edge to Value. But then I knew the bracket, so I knew 1 and 8 was a Hero Frog mirror match, and then Frazier was playing Rick, who was playing Diva Hero Beat. That was the other side of the bracket. So, and shout out to Rick, he got second place at the last Indy. I knew it was going to be tough for Rick to get to the finals because he's going to have to beat Frazier, which is not because he's a great player, but it's just a bad matchup for him. So he's going to have to he's going to have to go through Frazier and then beat one of the other 2 Frog players in top 4. And I was like, it's going to be tough because I played Diva Hero Beat and Frogs gives me a heck of a lot of problems when I play that deck. And it ended up happening, so I knew more likely in order for me to win the tournament, I'm going to have to go through Frogs at the end. And me having played Frogs for so long, I know it's, especially game 1, it's hard for Value Turbo to beat Frogs. But anyway, when I got the top 8, it was, I played against, again, I think his name is ATJ BLS, I think that's his name. And he actually doesn't play much Edison. He mostly plays Go. But one thing I will say about him, this is probably my favorite match the entire weekend. We had a great match, and he's a great player. I mean, it's been a while when I played someone who just read all my back rows. Like, he played well in game 1. He opened Whirlwind, and then he kind of like black rosed. He black rosed my field, got rid of his first Whirlwind, and then later on he drew into the second Whirlwind. And we were just grinding. It was a heck of a game 1, and it came down to like, I remember I set Necro Gardner, and then he goes for game. And he attacks with Value, and it was Necro, and then he takes 500. So it leaves him at 2,100. And he has like a big field. So he's down to 2,100. And I forgot what card I top deck. It might have been, was it Burial or I can't remember. But anyways, he has a Value at 800 attack. So I go normal summon Gale, half your Value, activate Value, bring out Armor Master. So it was exact game. But I had to hope his 2 back rows were dead. That's what it came down to. He had 2 back rows, and I had like Armor Master. Like, Armor Master, attack your Value for exact game. And his 2 back rows were dead, and I ended up winning that game, which was close because he, like I said, he used both his Whirlwinds. And yeah, and then game 2, he destroyed me. He goes like, Dark Arm, Brio. It was a quick game. But in the third game was also crazy. So all I had was like 1 Raikou forever. So actually my opening hand was like Allure. And I had to choose, my opening hand was like Allure, Burial, Dark Armed, and Greffer. So I go Allure, and the only 2 darks I had was Greffer and Dark Arm. So, and a Raikou. Those are my only monsters. So I had to choose. Do I get rid of the Greffer or do I get rid of the Dark Arm? With the Burial in my hand. And I chose to get rid of the Greffer. Because I was like, I think this Dark Arm's going to win me the game. So then I set Raikou and like a couple back rows and pass. And he activates his Allure. And he banishes his Blizzard. So then that gave me information. I'm like, oh, okay, you have probably another Blizzard in your hand. Maybe Dark Armed. And a few other cards. So it basically came down to like, he would like summon Shura, like bottomless. Luckily he didn't have Icarus. Then he summoned a Bora. I bottomlessed him again. Then he summoned Kalut, attacks. I had a Raikou in defense mode the whole time because I put it to pop one of his back rows. I popped his Legacy of Yatagarasu, obviously, which was really unfortunate. But anyway, he summons Kalut, attack, I deprison him. Next turn, he summons another Kalut, and I deprison his other Kalut. And then eventually, I drew I remember. I drew Charge. I go, Charge of the Light Brigade. I have 1 dark in the graveyard that I milled. I milled my second Greffer because I only played 2 Greffer off of the Raikou way earlier. So I go Charge, mill Plague, Value, and I have Foolish in my hand, and Dark Arm, and Burial in my hand. And kind of like, I got kind of excited. I'm like, I'm about to kill. I'm like, this is game. Because I kind of read his other back row was just dead. Or I'm going to pop his back row with Dark Arm, so it doesn't matter because I have Burial. So I go, but he had a response. He had a Crow. So he kind of read that I had Dark Arm. And I slammed the Dark Arm. He was like, wait, I had a response. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Go ahead. Then he crows my Value or Plague. He crowed my Plague. But it didn't matter because I had Foolish. So I go Foolish, whatever. Dark Arm, his back row's Mirror Force. And then like Burial, Plague, and that was game. So yeah, it was a pretty crazy match. And like I said, it's been a while. Like, it's really rare when I come across a player who's like really good at reading cards and reading opponents, and it makes sense why he's the GOAT player of the year because he read me well. So ATG, shout out to him. It was a great match we had. Really fun. So anyway, now I'm in top 4. Did I say I won that roll? No, I lost a dice roll. So far, how is my roll? I've only won 2 rolls. And in top 4, I finally won another roll against GBs, which was huge. So in top 4, game 1, I won because I dust shoot him. I went first, opened dust shoot. He only had 1 GB monster in his hand, which was Sam Knight. I sent him back and then slowly won the game after because I played around all his cards. The only issue was that he actually had Dust Tornado. To Dust Tornado my return, I would have finished him much earlier. And then game 2 was a great game. He was actually, I remember because there's people watching and they were like telling people on Discord what was happening. He was actually beating me the second game. But it came down to he has an Quest, a Bottomless, and a Chariot. And I can't really deal with that. All I had was a Greffer and like a Value in my hand. And I know he had the Chariot because he grabbed the bag with a Quest. But and then I top deck Cyber Dragon, summon Cyber Dragon. He has the Bottomless, and then I go summon Greffer, attack the Quest, pitch Value, summon Armwing, and I set MST. So I know where their Chariot's at. That's the only back row he has now. And then, I slowly came back and won. But I did top deck the Cyber Dragon to come back and win that game and 2-0. And then, then I'm going to the finals. And like I said, I knew I was going to... Either way, whoever won, Frazier played Dimitri. I can't remember his first name. But he's really well known in the online Edison community. So I knew no matter who won between them, it was going to be tough for me because these are 2 great, experienced Frog players. It's a bad matchup for me. Game 1's going to be tough because I played Frogs myself. Game 1 is just really hard for Value. So basically, it's going to come down to the side deck. So I'll go over a little bit. I don't even know. I think they filmed the video for this matchup, but I'll try to go over what I remember. So game 1, I lose a die roll. So what was the record? How many die rolls did I win? I won against GBs. So I won 3 die rolls. How many did I lose? It was 11 rounds, right? So I went 3 and 8 in the die roll. It's pretty bad. Anyway, against Frazier. So he goes first. He opens Trap Dust Shoot. And my hand is like Raiko, Sirocco. So my hand's not that good. Burial. But I have Oppression. So that's the one good news. So I can stop his Substitutes and his... Because I think first turn he just goes summon Stratos. Yeah, he just goes summon Stratos. So I have Oppression to stop his Substitutes, stop his Miracle Fusion. So I'm in an okay spot. And I set Oppression, and I think he like Ryza my Raiko, and it was just downhill from there. And then eventually he draws the out to the... He has the Regeki Break for my Oppression. So my hand was bad in Dust Shoot, and then Regeki Break just doesn't help. He drew really well. So game 1 was not really close, but game 2, I drew okay. I drew Oppression again. I didn't see any of my side cards. No Deck Dev, which is okay against Frogs, and no Pulling the Rug, no Dyna. So I sided 6 cards against him. I didn't see any of them. But I still was able to fight back, but he drew really well. He drew like a standard, typical Frog hand, Miracles, Caiuses. But it came down to like, I cleared his field, but I took too much damage already. I got down to like 900. I like Darken, attack over his Caius. Yeah, attack over his Caius. And then blow up his 0. And then I just made a Colossal Fighter in defense because I'm at 900. And then it's pretty crazy. So yeah, I'm at 900. And I'm just stalling with Colossal because I don't want him to top deck another Miracle, right? And he just draws Caius and just slams it down. And his game. He didn't even shovel his hand. He just like draw. I remember because he obviously has ulti Caius. It slams down the Caius and he wins. It was a 2-0. But the second game was close. It was a lot closer than the first game. And that is it. That's the tournament report. And yeah, it was fun. Fun tournament. I'm glad I at least went out in the finals, defended my title. And again, congrats to Frazier. And I met so many people that... it's weird because I'm not used to it. But like, so many people came up to me and telling me they love the channel. I really appreciate everyone who came up and introduced themselves to me. It was fun. And yeah, I'll be attending the Ultimate Time Wizard in Austin for Nationals. So if you guys go, come find me, and I'll see you guys next time.